All right, so the next unit that we're going to do is the chocolate Gateau. Now, I've already done the chocolate Gateau. For that, you'll also need a chocolate mousse. With these two recipes, Vanessa's already covered them in SITH PAT 001, SITH PAT 002 for the cakes, and SITH 006 for the mousse. So because of that, we're not going to go through the process of making them. If you refer to her videos, you'll be able to see how it's done. So with the chocolate sponge that I have here, it's a flourless chocolate cake. What I've got is an acetate sheet around. What this essentially is going to do is create a barrier for me to pipe my mousse on. I'm going to pipe the mousse flush to the acetate sheet, and then I'm going to pop it in the freezer for it to set. Once that's done, I'm going to roll a disc of marzipan covered in cocoa powder, and I'm going to put it on the top, and then I'll finish it off with the decorations after. All right, so this is the chocolate mousse. And then what I'm going to do is use my palette knife to spread it out evenly. Now you've got to work really quickly because the chocolate does set. The mousse will set pretty quickly. Now what I am going to do is very gently So that's my mousse done. What I am going to do now is pop it into the freezer or the fridge. If you're going to pop it into the fridge, then I suggest you pop it in for about 6 hours or so. In the freezer, as long as it sets right on the top, for me to place the marzipan disc on, that would be perfect. So I'm going to sit this in the freezer. My chocolate Gateau is in the fridge waiting for the mousse to set. So while that's happening, I thought I'd prepare the chocolate sauce that we need to pour over the cake. So that requires 300 grams of cream that I'm going to pour it into a pot. Now I'm going to pop this over the stove just till it heats up. I don't want it to rapidly boil, just because then it will split the chocolate. So you want it to come up to temperature just before it starts to boil. All right, pop that on. So just before boiling point, which is 100 degrees. So what the heat does is it sort of dilutes the cream. The cream becomes a lot runnier. And then I'm going to pour it into the bowl of chocolate that I have prepared. This is 450 grams of dark chocolate. Now, I tend to use dark chocolate because it sort of balances out the sweetness with the cake and the jam that we're going to use. So if you'd like, you can use milk chocolate, but be prepared for a much sweeter cake. So it's starting to loosen a little bit. I'm just going to wait for it to boil just till it comes to the boil. Now while that's happening, here I've done a pistachio and marzipan cake. The recipes have been done. If you refer to SIT PAT 001 and SITH PAT 002, Vanessa's already done those cake recipes, so they're pretty straightforward. Here I have apricot jam. Now what I've done is I've put the apricot jam over the stove to soften it. So what the heat does is it melts the pectin, makes the jam easier to spread. Right? So that's that. So it's starting to, so if you look at the cream now, it's almost has a milk-like consistency, so it's almost there. I want just enough heat to melt my chocolate. I don't want it too hot, or else it'll burn my chocolate. I'll take it off just as I see little bubbles come through the sides. Here, if you look at the sides, it's starting to bubble on the sides, which is telling me that it's to the temperature that I want. I'm going to take it off the stove now. And then I'm going to pour it over the chocolate. Now I'm going to give it a couple of minutes before I stir, because what I want to do is let the cream heat the chocolate up before I mix it up. Now while that's happening, I'm just going to put a pot of water for my bain-marie in case my chocolate doesn't melt. I'm going to leave it. Now I am just going to gently mix it through. You'll find that sometimes even with heating the cream, the chocolate doesn't melt. That's because it has been sitting in the fridge. Chocolate tends to hold the temperature a lot longer. So when that happens, what I do is I put it over a bain-marie. Just make sure the flame is on super low. All I want is the heat from the steam from the water. And that should melt my chocolate. So obviously, that's not going to work because my chocolates are too cold. So I'm going to pop it onto here and melt. So when you're melting chocolate this way over a bain-marie, you've got to be absolutely careful that not a drop of water gets in there. What generally happens is if I get any drop of water in there, it will cause my chocolate to split or curdle. So what I generally do is I take it off the heat and I always wipe the bottom of my bowl. Always. No excuses for not wiping the bowl. So there's no water droplets that go in there. Now, chocolate is very versatile. It has the ability to hold heat or hold the cold, right? So sometimes people keep leaving the chocolate, the ganache over the hot bath thing, saying that it hasn't melted. There's enough heat now in the chocolate to melt. So I usually take it off and give it a good mix. So this helps me to distribute the heat that's already in the chocolate. And then I'm going to pop it back on again.